Somebody asked me for a comment on Jon Ossoff, I think his last name is, his loss in Georgia. Here's my comment. So basically, you see a campaign, you see an election that shows a populist explosion on the left, kind of on the right, even though Trump is a fake populist. I said it at the time during the campaign. So you see a rebellion against the establishment. And what do? The Democratic National Committee floods in, I believe it was $30 million. It was the most expensive congressional race in the United States history for a milquetoast, centrist, borderline conservative candidate with a pretty face. Sorry, hate to say it. He was not for single payer, not for raising taxes on the wealthy. And sure, the Democratic Party leaders will say, Jordan, it's Georgia. You can't run as a socialist. You can't run as a progressive. You have to cater to conservative viewers. I call bullshit on that. Bernie Sanders is going down to Mississippi. He just went down to Mississippi a few weeks ago, had a gigantic crowd. I was just in Alabama, in Birmingham, a few months ago. There's a progressive uprising. You're starting to see a progressive uprising in Texas. You're seeing progressives rise in a lot of these states. By the way, Donald Trump only won that district by 1%. So you're telling me, let's run a milquetoast centrist who's running on, we need to increase civility. Give me a break. Instead of an actual progressive who's going to say to the citizens in Georgia, you know what? Do whatever you want. You want to be against abortion? Be against abortion. You want to be against, progressive social ideas? So be it. I'm not going to twist your head. This is the South. But you want to know why you haven't gotten a raise in 20 years? You want to know why you can't pay for your own health care? You want to know why the rich get richer and you can't send your kids to college? It's because we don't have Medicare for all. It's because the healthcare industry here is a giant BJ to the wealthy and the corporations and the pharmaceutical industry. You want to know why you can't send your kids to college? Because the United Corporations of America has hijacked education. People in Georgia have those issues. Even conservatives. Yeah, you could be a progressive and say, yeah, okay, I'm going to raise taxes on people making X amount of money, but I'm not going to raise taxes on people making less. And you might turn some hardcore Republicans down, turn some off in a place like Georgia or this district that he ran in. But let's go to the videotape, right? So the Democratic Party with establishment candidates has lost over, I think, 1,100 seats in the last 8 years. 1,100 seats. They've lost governorships, congressional seats, Senate seats, local seats, running people like Jon Ossoff. So you're going to tell me the way to go is let's just run against Trump. Yeah, that worked out during the campaign. Run Hillary Clinton, say Trump is the worst thing since sliced bread, and let's just, don't worry about the candidate. Put a pretty face up like Jon Ossoff, say Trump, 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 Trump derangement, and let's hope for the best. What if you try something radical, right? Run a progressive in a place like Georgia, who unabashedly says, I'm for Medicare for all. Which, by the way, do you know single payer right now? In polls, 46% of Republicans are for single payer. Did you know that? 46%. I think 50-something% of independents and way more among Democrats. 46% of Republicans. That's almost half the country's Republicans want single payer. And you're going to run a milquetoast Democrat who's against single payer? Are you on crack? Yes, lead with your values, Tom Perez says. And I know, the Hillbots are going to come after me. Jordan, Jimmy, you're dividing the Democratic Party when we need to unite against Trump. Uniting against Trump is not an electoral strategy. Uniting for something to go against Trump is an electoral strategy. And take a look. You have Jon Ossoff, who lost by 5 percentage points when Trump was up by 1. Trump won 1 percentage point in that district. So basically Ossoff was down 4 percentage points. He lost 4 percentage points. Whereas Montana, you have a progressive named Rob Quist. Sure, he lost. He loses by 6 percentage points when Trump won that district by 25 points. 25 percentage points. And you're going to tell me, let's go with centrist candidates. Centrist candidates. So, and by the way, Rob Quist only lost by 6 percentage points in Montana, which is very Republican, with little help from the Democratic Party. He got little money from the Democratic Party until the end. And he, 25 to 6, that is 19 points, he turned it around. 90% uptick with no help, with no money from the Democratic National Committee, whereas this guy, Ossoff, a milquetoast centrist, borderline Republican in what he's proposing, running on civility and a pretty face, he loses. Trump won by 1 percentage point in that district. Ossoff loses by 5 points. Flood money, put up a pretty face, serve up platitudes, lose by more. They'll never learn because they don't want to learn, folks. They don't want to learn because they don't want to win if it means no more money, no more special interest money. They don't want to get rid of money. They don't want to get rid of special interest money. They have their favorites. They have their friends at Wall Street. I tweeted out earlier, you got Senator Kirsten Gillibrand from New York. She's on Morning Joe this morning talking about we need to be for working people. Meanwhile, she just had fundraisers with Wells Fargo and Citigroup. Are you kidding me? Now, if you put a gun to my head, would I rather vote for Kirsten Gillibrand versus Ted Cruz? Yes, I would. If you put a gun to my head. Because I think Ted Cruz is dangerous. I think we would move back to the 1950s in terms of social policy. I very much think we'd be in some wars. So, if you put a gun to my head, yeah, I'd go for Gillibrand over Ted Cruz. Not because I like Kirsten Gillibrand, but I'd rather not kill myself. However, we got to stop going for the lesser of two evils. As Jill Stein and others say, it's still evil. We're never going to turn anything around in this country if we just keep taking what the Democratic Party establishment gives us, which is Jon Ossoff. And imagine for a second if the Democratic National Party would have invested their money in Rob Quist in Montana from the start. He only lost by 6 points with very little help from the Democratic Party. You don't think he could have come closer? You don't think he loses by maybe 2 points or 1 point or an upset in Montana? Versus $30 million was spent in this Georgia congressional seat on a milquetoast centrist who, on cable news, I watched him, wouldn't say a bad word about Nancy Pelosi, dodged on single payer, dodged on taxing wealthier people at higher rates. Come on. When are we going to just look at data? They didn't look at data when Bernie was beating Trump head-to-head by 10 to 15 points. Let's push Hillary, who was only winning by 2 to 3. Come on. Sorry, I said I'll give you brief thoughts, and then I went on a goddamn rant. You know me, and I'm starting to sweat because my air conditioning doesn't work. Oy vey, what are we going to do? What are we going to do in this country, folks? I talk about a lot of this, by the way, in my book, if I haven't told you, Corporate Con Job. That's corporateconjob.com. You could go on corporateconjob.com, read the introduction, read chapter 1. I hope you'll read it, I hope you'll share it, and I hope you'll support me, even if you got $5-10. So, what happens next? I'll tell you what happens next. The Democratic Party, the DNC, Tom Perez, we're going to lead with our values. We're going to keep running milquetoast, centrist, moderate to conservative candidates. And we're going to keep getting Republicans. Now, in fairness, this is a Republican district in Georgia. It's not easy, even if a progressive runs, to win. But what gives you a better chance? Repeating the same thing you've done over and over, which has lost you 1,100 seats in the last decade? Or going with an actual progressive when there's a progressive uprising spreading all around the country? Frankly, this is why Keith Ellison should have ran for the DNC chair at more aggressive and more progressive. But he played nice. He went and kissed rings he went and kissed the ring of the Florida state chair and some other establishment people because that's what he thought he was going to need to win as the DNC chair. And when he lost, now he's the DNC deputy chair, sending out fundraising emails. I don't quite get that. I like Keith Ellison, but it doesn't make much sense to me. You either are going to go at the establishment or you're going to work with them. And by the way, I know a lot of you don't agree with me. I'm for a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. Unless Bernie wants to run as an independent, I'm all for that too. I think we got to take over the Democratic Party. I think that's the best way to actually win next year. You might disagree with me, but that's what I think. But enough with the playing nice. These people don't get it. They're not going to get it. You got the Kirsten Gillibrand saying, I'm going to work for working people, and then I'm going to go do fundraisers with Wells Fargo and Citigroup. Give me a break. Give me a break. I wasn't born yesterday. I was born in 1986. And all of this is connected, by the way. All of this is connected. Flint, North Carolina, water contamination, corruption. Have you seen the Democratic Party tweeting about the contamination in North Carolina? Or the continued contamination and corruption in Flint? Maybe if you ran candidates talking about local issues that stood for something, that could bring up, if you ran a progressive, he could have brought up a Georgian Republican who is suffering with health illnesses that without keeping Obamacare or without single payer, they might die or their kids might die. That's powerful, even to conservatives. But you're not going to do that if you're running Jon Ossoff. I think it's possible for a third party, Sandra, but you really need to have a Bernie leading it, in my opinion. That's what I think. If Bernie would have ran Green Party or Independent, I think he would be president today. I really do. I think he could have won in 2016 as Green Party or Independent, but we know what happened. So the bottom line is, I'm going to keep going against the corporate Democratic establishment. I know people criticize me because I don't cover Donald Trump enough. I think I cover him when it's necessary. I'm only going to cover him when I have something unique to offer. Reporting being the 275th person of the hour to tweet out something nasty about Trump or the bad stuff he's doing doesn't help my audience, doesn't inform my audience, and doesn't activate anybody to do anything, in my opinion. And that's part of what I'm writing about in the second chapter. I had a choice to make last year. Do I just go for clicks? Because covering Trump 24/7 would have given me more clicks, would have given me more subscribers, would have helped me grow faster, but I didn't think it was the right thing to do because Donald Trump was not the story. The story is, what are the conditions in the United States of America? How bad are they? How hopeless are people that they would even elevate someone like Donald Trump? That was the real story, and that's why I didn't cover him as much. I covered the stories and the real people going on the ground. Because that's what I think needs covering, and that's what I think you want to know. So a lot of my videos will never go viral because they're not sexy, and they're not about Trump's tweets, and they're not about, these scandalous things like Russia and all this stuff. But you know what? I'm not here just for clicks. I'm not here just to go viral. I'm here to serve you, and I'm here, hopefully, to put some people in jail and bring some justice to people who deserve it. So, bottom line, you keep running Jon Ossoff's, you get what you deserve.